Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. Go ahead and go to the couch shot. Guys, we have a match well underway. We're going into this game into the second round. It's going to be Dr. Lupo and Gingerpop in a very, very close second game against a Ninja and Hysteria. It is going to be a phenomenal game, and just a little update for you guys on the couch, and an update maybe for you guys in the stream. It's Ninja going
Myth and Hamlinz?
No, excuse me, Myth and Ham. This whoever wins this will be playing against Ninja and Hysteria. Excuse me. So Myth and Hamlinz won the TSM Civil War against Camille's and his teammates. So that was a good match, I'm sure. But unfortunately, we weren't able to catch it. But this game is going into the second game. We're already getting right into it. Whoever wins this will move on to play Ninja and Hysteria. So this is a big game. And Dr. Lupo and Gingerpop have been playing phenomenally well. I think in the beginning they had the lead. In the first round they had a good-sized lead, but Myth and Hamlinz have made a comeback, and they're looking to overtake the second game to knock them down to the losers.
And I know, I believe Hamlinz looks a little bit different, along with Dr. Lupo. We'll obviously get that stuff all figured out there. But, yeah, man, should be a pretty interesting game, right? We talk about TSM. The Hamlinz and Myth in this situation. Feeling pretty confident right after that last victory for the most part. But looking on here for the road guys, you got Dr. Lupo, who has played with Ninja in the past. A very solid player in his own regard, but playing alongside of Gingerpop. I've been hearing a lot of hype around this guy. Competitive player now for Rogue. Super excited to see him kind of have his first opportunity in Friday Fortnite. But a solid player I think he actually played last week, but a solid player all around. I think a first opportunity to watch him live on broadcast, but a great player from what I've seen. So.
Absolutely. So, got to be excited to be watching Myth and Hamlinz, though. My TSM boys going big, but look at how much distance they have to cover. Plus, they got to travel across the lake. They do have time, but they got to get to work to get inside that circle. They might even find some engagements, but that's a double-edged sword. You want to find engagement, but finding engagements this far away from the circle can put you at a huge disadvantage because you won't be able to get to the circle in time. But I do believe I saw Hamlinz with a jump pad in his back pocket. That's going to come in big overall, but a very close game. We'll get a score update for you guys relatively soon, but kills being dropped from Myth, looking good. And, man, I got to tell you, what are you seeing, Fallout? What are you thinking overall about this close game?
Unbelievable gameplay from Myth, as you'd expect. The build master himself. Beautiful kills picked up from him with the AR and shotgun. Meanwhile, they're actually going to split, and that's how confident TSM is. And I think that's why we see them always make it to top 4, usually through the losers bracket, is because they can split. Oh my gosh, no, he did not.
Yes,
Mid-sky. Beautiful shot right there. Speaking of which, coming in from Myth, the ability to split, the ability to take 1v4s by themselves really separates them.
This is insane, man. Like, just casually while a man's flying, takes him down. I think before that, we actually saw Dr. Lupo destroy someone with a thermal AR while they were also going for the jump pad play. So very neck and neck for the most part, but one outlier for sure is Myth's play. 12 eliminations, nearly doubling the other team combined, right? They have 8 kills in total for Dr. Lupo and Gingerpop. Myth is on one for the time. We saw him last week. I used the hashtag hoodie Myth, man. He plays better with the hood on, and it seems as if this is the case this week as well, up to about 13 if you can find this one as well, and able to make it look easy. Fantastic plays coming in from TSM.
You saw a 1-point difference between the two teams. Myth with that kill or that knock, or excuse me, some more kills coming down, is going to secure yet again, taking over the lead, but engagements are growing thin. We're seeing a total now of, 8 engagements still remaining with the game this close, both in the storm.
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to take it.
And this is a very far jaunt. I believe they're on the other side of Loot Lake, and then they've got to go all the way to Pleasant Park. So this is a far jaunt for all 4 of our players being down the way that you are. I mean, if you're Dr. Lupo and Gingerpop in this situation, you got to be preferring your life primarily, but where are these kills going to come from?
Yeah, spot on. And it goes to show, too, Taylor, your point was spot on. That they actually were close to the circle, the next circle, and decided to rotate back to pick up some people on the edge. So, again, the edge conversation versus being in the center of circle, I think, goes to show here that picking off people off that edge, I think, is definitely a clear advantage. Look at it. Oh, my gosh. No way.
29.
Unbelievable.
Myth and Hamlinz still trailing by 1 point. I thought they overtook that lead, but unfortunately they did not. But look at how many engagements we have, guys. Only 3 more remaining. And if you also look at the inventory there for Dr. Lupo, he does have a med kit there for Gingerpop as well. Myth and Hamlinz, though, they have some Band-Aids in their back pocket, but Myth only has a med kit too. But Hamlinz, he's out of the circle. And he spots a player using the minigun. Will he be able to pick up this kill? Every kill is going to count at this point. We could see a tied game going into Game 3.
And the thing with Hamlinz, right, in this situation, he has to be very wary. If he takes out that player or at least brings him down low on health, the elimination of the Storm doesn't go your way. So he has to be very wary of that. Thankfully for TSM, they have somewhat of the advantage to be farther progressed up than Dr. Lupo and Gingerpop. And take a look at that. Gingerpop unfortunately falls to the Storm. He's down and out for the count, hands off his inventory to Dr. Lupo and says, hey, man, carry on. Try to carry the banner for Rogue right now to try and manage to pull off what would be an insane game. And I believe, there's only one elimination left, and we have a tie game?
And Hamlinz just picked up a kill. No, actually, we saw Myth and Hamlinz had the lead. So now they're going to be up at least, I think, 2 kills at this point with a now 1 person remaining.
That's it.
And that's going to be it. Just like that, Myth and Hamlinz take over the game over Dr. Lupo and Gingerpop, and it came down to the Storm. We saw so many players dying from the Storm, but Hamlinz heads-up play coming out of that Storm quite aggressively, following ahead of Myth, not deciding to stick with Dr. Lupo, Gingerpop, and Myth. He comes out, he picks up some kills, and that secured the victory.
And watch Myth in this play. I think he actually emotes to Dr. Lupo, just like, hey, man, good effort. You did your best. I thought he emoted. Wasn't exactly sure. He's just kind of hanging on the outskirts, but just saying like, hey, man, you tried your best. You did a great job. But overall, TSM, they take down Rogue in this exchange.
Yeah, and I got to say, what a performance from Myth in Game 2, clutching up when it matters the most. Myth says, hey, I saw those power rankings, by the way. I saw me at number 9. I'm going to prove otherwise right now. Clutching up in Game 2. I think they were down by 6 or 7 kills going into Game number 2. He puts up 15. Hamlinz with 3. What a performance from Myth, proving that he is a top player in this game.
Yeah, definitely like what I saw overall. And, of course, Dr. Lupo still trying to get the final 1-person kill. But, hey, great game overall. You know, Dr. Lupo and Gingerpop is a team you can't sleep on. They play so incredibly well. Gingerpop is one of those players, like Landon's been saying, who have been playing so well throughout our tournaments. He's been a guy that kind of got picked up on Rogue a little later on, but he kind of got there because he was playing with Dr. Lupo, Tim the Tap Man, and Ninja, kind of playing within that circle, and it kind of made him what he is right now, and of course a very long, successful career we can assume to see from him, as I believe he's going to be at least a competitive player. He is one of the competitive players on Rogue so far. Dr. Lupo, a streamer. I don't think he's considered one of the competitive players, but still a streamer from Rogue overall.
Dr. Lupo has a it's funny, right? Because in his position, he could be a multitude of things, right? He could be a commentator, he could be a streamer, he could be a player. The guy does it all, and he also makes his stream look incredibly great. Fantastic player, though.
And a family man on that.
Yeah, man.
As a show, it's an awesome guy. Much respect.
And I believe the final kill went down to whoever was, or he didn't stick the landing apparently.
No one gets the kill.
That's so frustrating if that would have came down to that, right?
Right, and that's one of the things that we've seen, especially Fallout. If you've noticed, like every kill matters, obviously. So dying to the Storm or a player dying outside on the Storm or dying because of fall damage is so detrimental to the overall score and that player dropping. I mean, imagine if it was just a 1-kill game. Obviously, it wasn't. It was over well ahead of time. 31-29 being the overall score. But that was a crazy game. We didn't get to catch the first one, but as I mentioned before, Dr. Lupo, Gingerpop, they had the lead going into the second round over Myth and Hamlinz. Myth and Hamlinz took it in the second game. Kind of curious to know where they landed. Obviously, we know Myth and Hamlinz prefer that salty drop. That's kind of been their area so far, but who knows overall? It could be pleasant today. Who knows where they're going to be going?
Especially if the battle bus doesn't go their way. I'm not sure what the secondary option is. But
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of different landing options, but I mean, we have to give credit, right? Myth dropping 15 kills. It's not too common, right? We talked about overall kills so far throughout this game. I know Aimbot Calvin in our last series dropped 11. Myth, I think, at least from our broadcasted games, most frags or most eliminations, right, by a player so far. Pretty impressive, right? We talked about being down in the game, the ability to clutch up. It wasn't like it was game 1. They're coming into it, has a great game. When their backs are against the wall, I mean, hey, that's when he performs the best. So it's great to see Myth really clutching up. Like you said, there, talk about the power rankings. Definitely probably realized that was like, hey, man, I was pretty low on the totem pole. I should be up at the top 5, top 3, top 4, maybe even number 1 in his own book. But fantastic plays overall. And so now TSM, right, took out the other TSM squad. Now take down Rogue. They are the org eliminators.
They definitely are.
Is that name? So.
And it's good that they're making their way through, because I know in the past tournaments they've kind of got knocked out a little bit early.
Losers,
went down to losers, but they continue on in winners bracket. So.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see that they're on the lower side of the bracket, right? High Distortion and Avery are there. Ninja and Hysteria are there. So that's a powerhouse side of the bracket. I'm excited for some of these matchups coming up. I believe we said the winner of that's going to play against Ninja and Hysteria.
Yes.
So oh my goodness.
So now we got Myth versus Ninja. Okay.
I know.
I like this.
I know.
I'm happy with it. I can't.
Lupo versus Ninja would have been kind of cool too.
It would have been.
From a story
Well,
standpoint.
we've seen that. We've seen that actually one of our weeks.
One of the
and I think Ninja won it over. It was Dr. Lupo and Tim the Tap Man versus Ninja And who was playing with Ninja at the time? Maybe King Richard?
I think it was King Richard at the time.
It might have been King Richard at the time.
Might have been, yeah.
But here's our bracket. As we see FaZe at the top there have moved on. Of course, they're going to be playing King Richard and Aimbot Calvin. That's a good matchup. Nate Shot and Risker, yes, both 100 Thieves. They're playing with each other against Vicstar and Noah J. Vicstar actually making some powerhouse predictions as well.
Yeah, I know in FaZe's at FaZe Clan's power rankings, they had him as number 10. Absolutely respectable player. Has had some really good moments in past tournaments with Tinny. But this is pretty interesting, right? We see Vicstar for one of the first times not playing with Tinny. One of the first times, I think actually the very first time that Noah J has actually played without Avery at a tournament.
Yes.
I know Noah J hadn't been like at our last tournament or the one before that because he was at E3, outside opportunities, whatever it may be. But hey, man, he's doing just as well with Vicstar. Same thing with Avery as well. Well, they have gone their separate ways just because maybe, play styles might have changed, happened to like switch squads, whatever it may be. They're both seeing success. But yeah, massive props to one thing for me. I know we've all noticed it. Nate Shot and Risker making it as far as they have.
Yep.
Kind of interesting in that winners round 2 game, Banks and Yellow versus Nate Shot and Risker. You kind of have an org owner, somewhat involved with the organization, along with a very high level pro player as well. Along with that, we do see Risker, who is a competitive player for 100 Thieves, pull off a pretty solid victory. Actually, saw him on a podcast. Very well spoken guy. Very level-headed and
good voice too, yeah.
Sorry,
something I noticed.
The host to call that out.
Something I noticed. Good analysis there, but
absolutely.
But yeah, stacked bracket. I mean, I'm kind of curious. I mean, obviously this Myth Hamlinz and Ninja Hysteria match is going to be good, but looking down at the bottom there, we can only assume Avery and High Distortion might move on against Quabblecop and I Die Young unless something crazy happens. But
you want to give predictions maybe for these four?
I'm all about predictions.
Well, okay, so bottom, I think we can agree. Avery High Distortion, they move on, right? Now let's talk about the Ninja Hysteria, Myth, and Hamlinz. Great matchup overall. Hysteria, like you said, he has a lot of proving ground still within our tournaments and still within the competitive Fortnite, but he's a talented player from what we know of him. But Myth and Hamlinz, what are you saying?
I'm going with TSM.
You going with TSM?
I am.
I'm going with TSM.
I'm going to point out.
Devil's advocate.
Okay.
Don't bet against Ninja. I'm going Ninja Hysteria.
Oh,
They've been grinding, man.
They've been grinding. Absolutely respect it. Absolutely respect
More
it.
so, I want to create a story. I got to play a little devil's advocate here between the casters. I really do think that they've put in a lot of work in. I know they've been grinding Hysteria. This is a proving opportunity for him. I think he's been putting a lot of work in it. It's gonna be a great match nonetheless. But I got to go with Hysteria and Ninja on that one.
I will say the one major portion that I'm kind of leaning toward TSM is obviously because they're past. Where we have a lot of history with them, and also the competition they've been facing off against. Talk about facing off against TSM early, just facing off against Rogue. Both incredibly solid teams. Not that Ninja's competition and Hysteria's competition hasn't been up to par, but it's definitely a little bit more raised when it comes down to matches up to this point. But exactly, when we start to count out Ninja, we go back to like week number 2, his play until
23 kills.
Coming back, getting 23 kills by himself solo. Unreal stuff. Absolutely can't count him out. However, I am going to be leaning a little bit toward TSM when it comes down to this matchup, just based off of their prior history, when it comes down to roles and whatnot, etc. And also Hysteria's play, right? He's kind of a question mark, I think it's fair to say. For all of us on the couch, we've been able to watch his scrims, a lot of his streams from time to time. When it comes to Friday Fortnite, it's a different atmosphere. If you're not used to playing in the tournaments, it's a little bit different to kind of get used to. It's kind of related to solely kills. It's not about the victory royale as far as the placements are considered. It's about how many kills you have when that number 1 pops up. So very interested to see his play. But I'm leaning toward the hashtag TSM win.
And here's the thing. I think the difference between these two teams, one team heavy on the skill side, and that's TSM. I think they're the more skilled players, in my opinion. The other team, communication is going to be spot on. Those guys come from Halo, one of the most communicative backgrounds in games that exist. They have a lot of chemistry as former Halo teammates and players as well. I'm excited to see Ninja, and I'm excited to hear their comms, how they rotate, how they call things out. I think that's going to be the key difference maker that might put them over the top.
It's a great point to mention for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But one thing, too, about Ninja, I love how he spreads the love throughout the community, and he kind of gives everybody their own little spot. We saw Courage with him, King Richard with him, now Hysteria as well. And I believe he's had one more player, Daquan, in the past, right? So, obviously, great stuff coming from him, and great stuff coming from you guys. Thank you so much for coming out. And if you guys want to check out the bracket and kind of keep up to date with that, use in the chat, !bracket, and you'll be able to check it out. You'll be redirected to umggaming.com, where you'll be able to check it out. Of course, though, if you haven't checked out umggaming.com, please do, especially if you're trying to become a competitive Fortnite player. We do wager matches, a lot of tournaments as well. Definitely something to get on board with. But, of course, we'll be coming back with a great matchup. TSM going against Ninja and Hysteria. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. What a match we have coming up for you. TSM is going to be going up against Ninja and Hysteria. My name is Taylor Noble, or Reflections on the Twitterverse. And, of course, joining me is Lando Sanders, and we have Fallout with 2 T's. And this match here is what we hey, look, I got to point it out. They got to know where to follow, man, because
I respect it, man. I appreciate that.
We're giving just the juice all to the Fallout game. You know, they're just
no
like
one will ever have an issue with the Twitter ever again. No issues with the Twitter.
Got to point it out. Hey, this match. We've been waiting for this match. We kind of predicted it coming through, right? But whoever wins this will have to move on and potentially play High Distortion and Avery, which even more stacked. And, of course, you have the top of the bracket coming down as well. But coming in, we already made our predictions for this game. It looks like they're readying up. And I'm kind of curious to know in the chat what you guys are thinking overall. Who is going to take this? Because I'm kind of curious myself. I'm going with TSM. But, you know, honestly, I say that, but you can't sleep on Ninja whatsoever. But it's all dependent on the drop. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if we see a tilted drop from Ninja and his teammate Hysteria, because it's kind of like where they like to go, honestly. But then again, Lucky Landon is there, which he's kind of broke out of that a little bit.
I was going to say, I think it's really important on what the battle bus, right? Like where exactly is the pattern for that? Is Lucky Landon going to be available? Usually tilted is, but from time to time, maybe a drop maybe could support it toward different areas. But I believe Game 1 is ready to set up, of course. Very curious to see the map as far as where the drop is going to be considered. It's going to be right for Lucky Landing if the option comes for it, but based off the top left and bottom left of our screen, Anarchy Acres drop potentially, something along those lines, maybe a little bit.
He loves Motel, so maybe
okay,
look at Motel.
Yeah, absolutely. Very
I know a lot of solo showdowns he went Motel, so an early drop, and that's just a smart strategy because you drop Motel, clean that up really quickly, and you can easily rotate to Pleasant, where, by the way, a lot of people fighting over some challenges in this week. So I like the drop so far. Of course, Myth and Hamlinz, we're going to see the exact same drop we're used to seeing from them. It's going to be salty. Likely that they're going to land on the 4-story blue house as well on their end.
I love how everybody is rocking a pterodactyl as well, which that's the new one that just came out, which actually I did not buy because I'm trying to save some money.
I'm proud of you. So very proud of you.
It was so tempting, but I did not buy it, but I kind of regret it, but it's okay. First step to getting better is admitting that you have a problem. So, but great drop coming in from Hotel. Like you said, they kind of prefer this drop. I didn't know that actually, so that's good to know. And that's why I like watching these Friday Fortnights. I get to learn different strategies and kind of implement them into my strategies as well at local tournaments, online play as well. So, kind of interested to see how this is going to play off, where the rotation is going to be. You said they might, in fact, be going to Pleasant.
They also have Soccer Field as well.
And they also have Soccer Field as well, but I think Pleasant would probably be the better option overall.
But it is on the way.
It is on the way.
And here's the thing that makes me a little bit nervous about my Ninja prediction is he loves to play passive. For those of you guys that saw Ninja streaming and solo showdowns, loves to play very passive, turtle up in 1x1s, and you see by the drop here the difference between these two play styles. TSM, in your face, they use their skill and they get some kills, high risk, high reward. Ninja likes to play a little bit more cautious with edge drops. Lucky Landing is a good example of that. Motel on the other side of the map.
And one thing that's nice, we go back to challenges. I know we already talked about the eliminated opponents in Pleasant Park for this week is a weekly challenge. Along with that, we also have Salty Springs, Search Chest, and Salty for this week as well. So Salty Springs, Pleasant Park, both going to be very high priority areas. It's fair to say for a lot of our amateur players, it's the weekend, players trying to get through their battle pass, etc.
Yep.
It's definitely going to be high priority positions, and both of our teams absolutely have the potential to go to both of those areas at the exact same time. But yeah, I think the salty drops are going to be a little bit riskier, it's fair to say, throughout this tournament. Going to have a lot more opportunities for kills. And I would say in prior weeks, we're not going to be seeing this many frags, this many eliminations already. We've already got 6 lined up for the TSM boys and not 1 for Ninja and Hysteria, which, like Fallout like to say, the early passive play could be a little bit rough, but this is the opportunity, right, where Ninja and Hysteria are at right now, the outskirts of Pleasant. This is their opportunity. This is what they're banking on to bring them back into bringing this to a level playing field.
Yeah, here's the thing. I love that drop if you're playing in a Pro-Am, if you're playing against 99 other people or 98 other people in the lobby that are just as good as you are. But you're Ninja and Hysteria. You're pro players for a reason. You're some of the best players in the game. You cannot fear some of these aimbots that are running around. And it's easy kills, and you got to play a little more aggressive than that, in my opinion. I don't agree with the Motel drop. But look, they're at Pleasant now. everyone's dead.
Yeah, it looks like they might find a couple of engagements. Do see a kill coming in as Ninja manages to pick up one, but a solid start for the TSM boys. And, of course, going over to Salty, it's a little bit risky there, but they know how to navigate it quite well. They've been going there consistently throughout our Friday Fortnights and tearing up the competition there. And if you know how to navigate it, go for it. You're confident, you know how to play it. But, of course, Salty is a good drop. Yes, you pick up a lot of kills, but you also have the opportunity to kind of navigate through Dusty, which is a hot zone as well, to allow you to get even more kills. But as just referencing back to that High Distortion match that we saw in the beginning, High Distortion picked up a lot of kills in the beginning, but then we saw the other team, One Shot Girl, Nick A30, come back, right, overall. So, mid-game, you have your early game, mid-game, late game. We'll just have to see how the mid-game's going to play out.
And I actually noticed as well, Ninja just happened to complete his challenge for Front of the Gnome. So maybe that's why
that's true,
went to those
it all makes sense.
They went to the motels and whatnot, just because he's trying to get the challenge and whatnot, has the opportunity to find a few. But yeah, nice bullet action shot toward the top of that ability, making players look pretty easy. 62 meters for both of those, and just like that, nice knockdowns. We thought there maybe wasn't a whole lot of squads left at Pleasant Park, but there's at least one, which could add toward back the deficit.
And it's like you said, it's all about the rotations now and all about this mid-game. So I think for especially Pleasant Park, a little bit further out from the rest, Anarchy Acres, not a lot of folks drop there. It's a little bit open lands and hard to find people in that area. If I'm Ninja, if I'm Hysteria right now, I'm rotating immediately to Tilted Towers, cleaning up anyone in that area, cleaning up anyone that went soccer fields, greasy, shifty shafts, yonder yard, and picking up some kills in that regard.
Yeah, I was looking at the TSM boys. They're still over at Shifty Shafts. Finally, they're going to be rotating out, but they stayed in that area for quite some time, and they allowed more kills to come in the hands of Ninja and Hysteria. Not that they could control that, but still, we're just now seeing them rotate out, but they're going to be kitted up quite well. And Dusty Divots, that's that area that anything can really happen. You never know how the other players are going to play, especially with the Pop Rocks in the hands of the enemy opponents. But look at Myth with that thermal AR going big, picking up some nice shots, just laser beaming that player below. Beautiful. Finally gets the elimination. He got the knock, plus finished him off, and he knows there's still yet another player for him to pick up straight ahead.
Yeah, and I love that thermal AR. It reminds me of a DMR in Halo.
Okay.
The Halo reach stage. A lot of fun to use, especially if you can pick up headshots with that thing. Some good plays from him. A C4 pickup's going to come through for Hamlinz, and again, the Salty drop is superior in my opinion. That Dusty rotation is guaranteed to get the retail row for squad or two, people that landed outside of retail row, Anarchy Acres, and anyone that landed Tomato Town or Risky Reels. That's a perfect drop.
The landing
TSM.
Triangle. Am I
the
right?
Landing triangle is back.
All I'm saying, man.
It's back.
It's a thing, right? Yeah. There's just such a high population area to try to find kills. Plus, I mean, having Dusty Divot at your door, I mean, having the ability to find those hop rocks and maneuver throughout the map, you have your choice based off the, wherever the circle may be. You want to go, I mean, you have the option for Risky, but you have the option for Tomato Town. I mean, you have Anarchy Acres. There's so many little cutoffs that you can make. Dusty Divot, I mean, being around there does not hurt a bit.
And you players watching at home, too, you can implement these strategies into your own plays, whether you're a low-tier streamer, maybe you play in locals, maybe you play on umggaming.com. I mean, there's a lot of different strategies you can pick up from these tournaments and kind of learn from the pros, especially that Fortnite is going to be moving in to this kind of format whenever it comes to competitive play. Something to learn. But look at Myth once again. I just want to talk about that thermal sight. Right now he's just scanning the area, and that's what allows for this thermal sight, just allows you to scan out there, kind of call out for your opponent who's going to be, or your teammate who's going to kind of be advanced in that advanced position, call them out, and then decide your push from there. But notice their position. They're on the outside of the circle. They're not pushing in, and that's why I think they stayed in Salty for so long and just pushed a Dusty just a little bit after they went to Salty. The reason being is because they wanted to still stay on the outside of that circle. You don't want to push too far in because you're going to find players who are going to be turtled up, or you're going to find players that may find one or two teams. But look at this as a prime example. They're all moving in from the storm.
Yep, and I love this rotation, this call from Ninja and Hysteria. They're going to split. Hysteria's going to try and steal some kills over by Dusty from TSM, who's going to be rotating that area. Ninja's taking a 1v4 in Tilted. This is exactly what they need to get themselves back in this map. Hysteria takes out one, needs to be careful. There's another squad, I believe, trailing him. Meanwhile, Ninja has an entire battle on his hands. He's fighting a team of 4 over at Tilted. He's going to put himself in a bad spot in a world of hurt right now, somehow able to stay alive, rush building as much as he can, and Ninja does what Ninja does best, which is survive, manages to get top castle and height advantage over his squad. Meanwhile, Hysteria picks up some kills.
Yeah, Hysteria with those explodes, able to make it look a little bit easy, finding some nice little weapons off the ground. But here's the opportunity for Ninja to really start to light up the enemy players to the bottom side of Trump Tower, and Ninja on the top, grabbing that high ground, and happens to have one player just behind him, very low when it comes into shields, having none to his name, but finding a little bit of that equipment, and immediately pulls out the jump pad and has the ability to kind of scan around to where the remaining players are in that position and making them look easy. Another player in front of him has the ability to go for 3 eliminations in this situation, drops them all, like Fallout just mentioned, does a great job at staying alive, gets the high advantage, and re-challenges at his own time, taking out 3 players and getting back into this match.
And it was exactly that. That's why we keep talking about getting the high ground. Ninja won that battle simply because he kept getting the high ground and forcing their opponents to move up, forcing them straight into the hands of Ninja. It is because of that great skill and getting the high ground, he was able to pick up a team of 3 and put them at 6 total kills. Now 11 on the left and on the right. We're sitting at a total of 14. They have managed to close that deficit, which was quite large in that first game. Now coming in, they are going to be now, down about 4 kills. So they have managed to come back just a little bit and still pursuing as they made that split, which seems to be working out. Fallout, you mentioned that split. It was exactly what they needed to do. Very smart, and more engagements are able to be amplified as we see Ninja in yet another engagement.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Ninja going to lose high ground on this one, so notice how he plays this. He's going to try and immediately get high ground back, but playing against some good players here, needs to be cautious. Only 45 HP to his name as he's going to get tagged up here. I believe it's a one-on-one, so he should be okay, but look how great of a job he does getting that high ground in control. I believe Hysteria is going to rotate through and help out as well. Ninja, in pain, manages to clutch up and get that kill. He survives and he's going to med kit up and get back to safety.
And one thing that's nice, if you're Ninja and Hysteria in this situation, they have the advantage when it comes down to the zone. You saw a quick look on Ninja's screen for the moment, how far away the Myth and Hamlinz are. They are a loot lake. They have to get through that. Constant ramps are going to be made to try to separate themselves through this area. A jump pad in their back pocket, a jump trap would be fantastic for them at this position because we're on the far left side. It's a Snobby Shores kind of ending to this game, and if anyone who has played that knows you got to go all the way west, putting yourself in a good position. So right now, being a Ninja in Hysteria's shoes, as long as they're finding kills, that's great for them because Myth and Hamlinz are super worried about their life, they're worried about the zone, and they're worried about just being able to be set up for the future of this game. And right now, Ninja and Hysteria, while they might not be in the driver's seat as far as the overall scheme of things regarding the score at the moment, they're without question in the driver's seat when it comes down to the ending of this game for the time.
Let's talk about the rotation, which ended up working out incredibly well. We talked about it in the beginning. Hotel was a questionable spot, very soft. We saw TSM go salty. They came out with a lot of great kills, but their push afterwards, they kind of got stuck in that dusty divot position, still trying to scope out players. Unfortunately, they didn't get as many engagements as they thought they were going to get. But Ninja and Hysteria, who came out with a huge deficit, have managed to come back, and now I think they just took over the lead, at least by a couple of kills at this point now. But their rotation was great. They went from Hotel to Pleasant, then went to Tilted, and now they're at Shifty Shafts, and they're going to pursue their way once again back into Tilted, an area that they know quite well, and they'll be able to pick up even more kills, showing your mid-game is just as important as the early game. You don't have to go super aggressive in order to take the lead in the end.
And Taylor, that's a great point. And I think this is a classic example of high skill versus high teamwork, high communication. We talked about that at the beginning of this match. That's the difference between these two teams. Ninja Hysteria, great communication, great teamwork, great rotations. TSM has the skill, which is good early game, but late game is really a key difference maker. I love that point, Taylor. And you can see now, I've been watching Myth for quite some time. They're getting fixated on this one squad that's been trailing them, whereas Ninja and Hysteria are able to be in the center of that circle and rotate around. Great plays from both teams, but ultimately Hysteria picking up 3 kills at the bottom left.
And TSM trying to join the party in some cases, but not the gatekeepers are in their position, but it looks like nice shots coming in from both the TSM boys. It looks like they might find their escape a little bit easier, but with that storm at their backside, they have to be very wary. The utility is nice, but they need to advance as fast as they can. Storm at their backside, and it looks like they're going to finally be able to join the fight, but what a long jaunt it has taken them to get to this situation.
And they're, in fact, going to be in the storm, and we saw this in a previous game where a Myth got stuck in the storm and unfortunately wasn't able to get out. Hamlinz pushed through, but now they're both going to be in the same situation, whereas you look at Ninja and Hysteria, they're going to be inside the circle, still continuing to get these final remaining kills. 4 more engagements remaining. Ninja and Hysteria have a huge jump on those remaining kills, whereas Myth and Hamlinz, they're finally going to break the storm. They do have some band-aids in their back pocket that kind of heal up, but they don't really have time with the so few engagements remaining. They've got to push forward. They got a 2-kill deficit, but at this point, even though if we see Ninja and Hysteria get these final 4 kills, or now final 3 kills, we see some more kills going down from enemy opponents. Going into second game, it's going to be a very minor lead, which means we're going to have to see the play style kind of mirror each other, I would have to say, but they can also afford to split up if they wanted to. They can afford to do the same landing they did at Hotel. There's a couple of different options.
Yeah, well said. 19-17. Could we have asked for a better game number one between these two teams? What a performance from Ninja and Hysteria, being able to bounce back after being down pretty substantially early on. Ninja's going to pick up some nice nade kills. Can he get the AR kill? Yes, he does. So it's going to be 21-17 at the moment. Make it 22-17 as Ninja's going to pick up this last kill. Can he do it? His teammate Hysteria is going to do it instead. Great plays come through for Ninja and Co. as I believe they have quite the lead here. We'll get the final score on the board for you guys.
Yeah, great first round between the two of them, but what a comeback from Ninja and Hysteria. They were down a considerable amount, but we talked about those rotations and the route that they take, and that's something you guys at home need to take notes about, especially if you're wanting to play competitive Fortnite, because I think the format, at least from what I can tell, it's going to be based upon placement and kills, but you can still place considerably well, as we just saw going that way. But this is a competition that if you're going into competitive Fortnite, you're going to have to go against, you know? That's the thing, right? So, hey, this is how you got to start playing. This is how you got to start moving your way. But you can learn a lot from these Friday Fortnites, and I hope they translate that into their own skill.
That's so true. And by playing yourself, too. You know, look, I'm a guest here today, but I played my first UMG tournament yesterday. My rotations were god-awful. So I can sit here and I can critique as much as I want. It's easier to watch and critique, but you won't get better. You won't get practice. You won't get experience until you play in these high-kill games yourself. You learn how to make your rotations, where you want to drop, where you want to land. It's important to get that practice yourself if you're an aspiring competitive Fortnite player.
Absolutely. And if possible, I actually want to make a quick teleshooter play very fast because I'm also going to forget all the information that just happened in that last game. I want to discuss the amount of locations that we actually saw come through from Ninja and Hysteria in that last play. They ended up visiting 5 different locations in that last game. Going from, what was it? It was a hotel off the start. They let her make a break when it comes into Pleasant. From Pleasant, they shift their way into making a split push that I know you call that Fallout. Ninja going tilted solo. We saw, I believe, Hysteria kind of go to the side on Dusty Divot. From there, they ended up making their way towards Shifty Shafts, having the zone in their favor, and they ended up going toward Greasy. So 5 different locations, all on the western side of the map. And then from there, what we saw from TSM, I believe we're actually having a little bit of issues with the telestrator, but kind of breaking it down.
It looks beautiful. I can test.
It's right here, guys. But from what we saw from TSM, they go for the landing trial play, right? The landing triangle, rather. They end up going toward Salty Springs off the break. They make their way to Dusty Divot, making their way in toward retail. The major issue that they run into is the zone. The problem that they suffer going, if anyone knows, right, they're in retail when they realize the zone is all the way on the western side of the map in Snobby Shores. They have to make a full-on jaunt toward the other side. And while that's happening, that's the RNG that we talked about in this game. Ninja and Hysteria, they had every single location on the western side of the map, and that just happened to be where the final zone is. So I think the reason they have such a huge advantage when it comes down to that circle is because they were hanging on that side of the map throughout the entire game, and throughout that entire run, that's when we saw the split push come through for Tilted. That's when they started to kind of make their way into places like Shifty, into Greasy, etc., and that's why I think the reason why they have this lead now is because of that zone, and also because of the long run that TSM had to make. So we'll see potentially if it works out in their favor heading into this next game, because we saw a pretty out of typical zone in that first match.
All right, we're moving over to game number 2, and Ninja and Hysteria are going to be on this hillside just outside of Risky. Of course, we know Risky has been, and you pointed out in the beginning, Landon, it's been a very hot spot. So obviously landing up here, they're trying to loot up a little bit, but unfortunately not finding too much. We're seeing a half pot in the hands of Ninja along with a gray pistol, but a little bit better on the bottom with, they got the stink bombs. You have that silence pistol, which is very underrated, a very good gun to have in your back pocket, plus a hunting rifle. But look at this. As you pointed out, Fallout, TSM are going to be at Tilted here. Yeah,
big plays for TSM. They know they're at a little bit of a deficit. They got to bring this back. So I like the call to drop Tilted. And on the flip side, Ninja Hysteria, perfect call in my opinion with the lead that you have. That's a strat that I call 4 corners. If you're playing squads, you drop the 4 corners around Risky. There's four houses. You can easily flank those houses. And it looks like a little bit of statics here popping up for, I think it's Ninja who's going to be tagged up a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit down to 53 health. He's going to have to dip out of there at that point. Of course, Hysteria and Ninja a little bit spread apart. They'll hopefully meet up in just a second, but still taking damage is going to be Ninja, forcing him to retreat out of there. But with TSM being here at Tilted, we see a kill already in the hands of Hamlinz. And more kills potentially coming their way, but not the best of inventories for Hamlinz, but he'll make it work. He's just going to be stocking up on his resources to continue the fight to his opponents.
And one thing I want to highlight, like generally coming into this match, we wouldn't highlight the TSM guys, but at the same time, if Ninja falls, Hysteria in a permanent 1v2, while it's nice to have the lead, if TSM manages to stay up with one player on the opposite team dying, you got to prefer that team who has the 2v1 advantage. no matter what the play call is at that point, especially when they're in Tilted Towers. But here comes the play. The Boogie Bomb is out, and by no means is Hamlinz not, or Myth rather, dancing on the opposition, making it look incredibly easy, taking down the fallen players. It looks like a few more added to their arsenal when it comes down to this match. It looks like Ninja actually did manage to stay up, so they're going to be making their way toward Tomato Town. But for the time being, TSM, they're working on diminishing that opposite side advantage.
Well, they've already managed to tie it up, actually. They came in with a 3-kill disadvantage, so now they are, in fact, all tied up at this point, so might as well be 0-0. Tied ball game fallout, and obviously two different contrasting styles, but we've seen this, especially in last game, Myth and Hamlinz, they go salty. They pick up a lot of kills initially, but then Ninja and Hysteria with their routes was able to pick up even more kills towards the end and take over the lead. We could be seeing the same exact strategy here, but one thing that is worrying me, though, Ninja's not sitting at a lot of health. A random snipe, a stray sniper could, in fact, come in, blast them, and take them out.
Yep, and I'm bored looking at Hysteria right now. He's in some static. He's going to pick up a nice kill to his name. Ninja's playing. Notice how different Ninja plays low health because he recognizes his need to adjust. He's letting Hysteria stay high ground while he's just trying to build and distract and stay alive. I like that play from Ninja. Beautiful plays across the board for Ninja and Hysteria as you see a stink bomb. Our first stink bomb we've seen today go off.
Yeah, stink bomb coming in, of course, to get those people out of there. They were trying to turtle in that 1-by-1, showing its effectiveness. I'm sure it did some damage. That's going to give some confidence to kind of push forward. Ninja looks like he's going on a flank. I love this play. You don't get to see flanks, honestly, too often. Usually you'll just see him kind of be aggressive and push up, but trying to get that outer edge. But obviously, like you pointed out, Fallout, his health is quite low, and he's got to play according to that. Hysteria taking some damage as well, but there it is, going to pick up another kill, and they managed to wipe out that squad. And that's going to be Hysteria with 4 kills and yet another engagement ahead of him.
Wow, Hysteria popping off right now. Ninja supporting. Looks like they're in a pretty decent spot here. Hysteria needs to be careful. They're going to completely wipe.
Wow.
Yep, that's perfect plays right there for Ninja and Hysteria. And notice how they played that. Ninja got tagged up. He was weak at risky reels. Rather than saying, hey, we need these kills, let's fight it, they said, hey, we have some kills. Let's slow down. Let's work through Wailing Woods, get some resources, mat up a little bit, maybe try and find some more mats and meet them at Tomato Town because you know those players from risky reels are going to end up in Tomato Town. I love that play and that rotation. Again, that's been the difference, in my opinion, for Ninja and Hysteria has been their mid-round rotations and their decision-making spot on from those two.
And one thing that I find interesting is as Fortnite has kind of progressed, the evolution of where we landing, boys, right? Like it was straight up to the towers for the longest time. But one thing that I find very interesting, right, is we see Ninja and Hysteria, right? They go toward the risky reels. They kind of transition themselves, like Fallout just said, toward toward Tomato Town. As I believe the llama has been found for the first time of week 7 of Friday Fortnite.
Some llamas on set here. It's been great. Good addition to the Fortnite Friday.
But I think it's interesting how many players are actually kind of around this position. I mean, without risky reels in play, I mean, the top right of the map, for the most part, wasn't too heavily visited, at least in prior tournaments. We look at overall positioning of where players are at for the most part. I mean, I think if you're in Ninja and Hysteria's point of view, this is a perfect spot because you can kind of hang out in the driver's seat. You're kind of leaning back for the most part, not heavily pushing on the gas pedal because you're kind of just playing that slow-paced play, but having some squads from time to time. Like I said, Ninja was low health, making the nice passive plays. This is a perfect spot for them because the kills are still coming, yet they can also play passive. And right now, if you're TSM, right, you have 8 kills in total. You have 5 kills for Ninja and Hysteria. I think you're in a pretty decent position when you really look at the overall kind of landscape of things. So,
yep, well said. And I love this rotation from Ninja and Hysteria. They're going to go to crates or containers on the top left side of the map from the push, which is always a great push because you're going to get people coming through. Some of the folks that like to land Lonely Lodge, which not many people do. The retail row folks usually rotate over from that direction. So a great rotation to crates. Good loot. If not, you're going to find some people and pick up some kills as well. And this should give them the lead.
What a good push, but I thought he was out of mats for
always
just a second.
Awkward building up there.
I was like, oh man, that's going to be tough. But finally picking up some kills as Hysteria Ninja showing their combo is obviously working, continuing their lead. And Fallout, you're seeing something yourself.
Yeah, meanwhile, look at TSM. I've been watching them on the right side screen, shot to the production, catching all the action here. They've just been kind of lingering around Tilted Towers. Yep. They were over on the Loot Lake side. Now they're going over to this. They're indecisive. Yep. And that is always, every single Friday Fortnite that I watch, that's always been kind of the downfall of TSM. They're great early game, but their rotations are not nearly as strong as the likes of Ninja and other folks. And obviously they do a great job. They've placed top 4 in multiple tournaments, so my hat goes off to them. But again, the rotation, the mid-round, is where they've struggled, in my opinion, in this match at least.
Yeah, and it's interesting because whenever you've kind of taken down everyone in Tilted, it's like, okay, where do we go from here?
Yeah,
like
that's
what
the hard
really
part.
happens
it's
at
tilted.
this point?
Yeah.
like you're gonna have a random straggler of a squad happen every once in a while, but it's really the RNG really comes into play. Like, hey, is a team gonna go tilted now? It's based off the zone, etc.
Yep.
I believe based off the zone for the time, it looks like it's going to be kind of in the actually they're gonna be in zone. I thought that was an arrow pointing that way. So zone's gonna be tilted, and I think the reason why they're going to Shifty right now is that, hey, this is the next place.
Oh man,
this next location close to Tilted Towers.
Yep.
Once we kind of clear everything out toward the bottom side of the map, once we kind of gatekeep a little bit, we can advance our way back to Tilted, and hopefully there'll be a few squads there. But yeah, man, it's a matter of based off game to game, as we see Hamlinz really showing off his skills. Based off game to game, what do we really do? Like, what's the play call? Like, Tilted's a little bit slow. Do we want to leave here? It's such an awkward kind of play call at this point because it's a matter of what do players like to do, and with RNG coming into play, you never really know.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's probably my biggest learning casting this tournament so far. The tilted drop is almost like a bait. You think you're going to get a lot of kills dropping there, and guess what? You will early on, but after that, the rotations are not nearly as effective because you're in the center of that circle. You're not on the outskirts of the circle where everyone's rotating from. So it's a great call out there, Landon, and it's going to show. Ninja and Hysteria, on the other hand, are flying to Salty Springs, picking up kills left and right, and able to really secure this lead here. It's a close game, don't get me wrong, but Ninja and Hysteria are with a pretty substantial lead right now.
Yeah, looking, we have 10 on the left plus 3. That's 13 on the right. We have 8 plus 5, 13. So still a 3-kill lead in the hands of Ninja and Hysteria with plenty of engagements. 20 engagements still remaining. Of course, the rotations are, in fact, going down. We're seeing two very contrasting styles between the two, and both teams finding team fights either which way, but this Dusty Divot push is, in fact, going to happen as we see Ninja and Hysteria moving closer towards that circle, but Myth and Hamlinz, they've got a ways to travel too, but the storm is right on their back, and that's a double-edged sword, as I've talked about. Sometimes it's good to find the people coming through, but you also might get in that team fight, and they found themselves get caught in a storm way too much as of recently, and because of that, it's put them at a detriment, because Ninja and Hysteria, they make their way towards the circle, they pick up the final remaining kills, and they take over the lead. And
can we also talk about the amount of ground that the duo of Ninja and Hysteria have covered? They started off in risky reels. They made their way down from Tomato Town into crates, from crates to retail, from retail down to Dusty Divot, and they're going to be in a fantastic position, right? The storm is right here. They're good. Once they kind of use these hop rocks, they're going to get there in plenty of time to really kind of gatekeep, do whatever is necessary at that point. For TSM, they have stayed in Tilted the entire time. They made their way south a little bit towards Shifty for a little bit of a period, but the amount of ground that's been covered from Ninja and Hysteria without having to make the risk of going Tilted Towers, that's a great play call in their position to really not have to be worrisome about, hey, gotta go tilted, have to worry about play calls at all points. They've kind of played their game, played the slow, aggressive style from time to time, and also have had a lot of engagements without that high-pressure situation, the amount of stress that comes by going to tilted. So.
Yeah, that's a great point, and exactly what you called out last game. They've covered 4 or 5 name locations where TSM's only been to 2.
Exactly.
Shifty Shafts and Tilted Towers. So again, that's the difference in these rotations between these two teams, in my opinion, is covering so much more ground. And now, in my opinion, if I'm Ninja, if I'm Hysteria, what I want to do, a 3-kill lead is comfortable. You want to try and find people on the way there, but eventually you want to find and shadow TSM. And you're up by 3 kills. Trade kills if you need to. 1 kill for them, 1 kill for us. You're going to end up with a 3-kill lead to finish the game off. Try and find your opponent and shadow them, mirror them as much as possible. I think you're going to find a victory here.
I want to talk a little bit about what I was just thinking about with Ninja and Hysteria. They push so many different spots. We've seen them do that. But one of the special things about Fortnite, obviously, as we know, is we get a nice stick there with the plunger plus the knock on Ninja's screen. One of the things I wanted to point out, the reason why it's so good that they hit these low populated areas and they make those rotations moving through is because they force these opponents that they're going against to fight them without cover, forcing them to build up. And as we know, Ninja and Hysteria are great builders in themselves. Of course, TSM and any of these players who rotate through. And it forces them to get in these build battles, which, of course, they're typically going to have. Usually, they're going to have the advantage and get the high ground. So for them to be able to do that is a huge advantage, and they're forcing the opponents to kind of play their game. So maybe there's something to these rotations when they find them in the open. Whereas you look at Tilted, there's a lot of different areas where these players, they don't have to build up. They can go to the top of the building, and they can just shoot down at you. But they want to force these build battles. We're seeing that right now. Ninja is outclassing every single opponent he runs into.
And that you're a pro player, you're going to do that. So find those fights, take those fights, and they're doing such a good job. I completely agree with that sentiment there, Taylor. And I mean, if I learned anything, the next UMG tournament I play in, I am not landing tilted. I mean, really, the rotation is just so much more difficult there.
It is.
I think that's why you see Ninja is such a critic of that location. And especially for these early games.
And one thing that I noticed, as far as Ninja's teammates that he's had over time, is playing with King Richard for a while. Then he transitioned over to Daquan, Dr. Lupo. Now he's obviously playing with Hysteria for this round. I think whenever he played with Daquan, he kind of realized, like, hey, tilted. Well, and I noticed for a while, whenever it came down to him and King Richard's play, a lot of the time they'd either go to Lucky Landing, Fatal Fields, or Tilted Towers.
Yep.
Those are great plays, but you're totally ignoring the western side of the map. You're totally ignoring the eastern side of the map. You're kind of going straight up and down. And a lot of the times that's not super favorable when it comes down to the zone. And I think probably after playing with Daquan, he learned about the ability for how many locations there is to visit, how many opportunities there is in Friday Fortnite for different locations to really kind of be the play rather than going to one sole high-priority plays. I think after playing with Daquan, it kind of opened his eyes to saying, hey, the amount of locations that there are available, why not kind of use this call out and instead have going to my favorite places, go to places where the enemy's going to be. Whenever you're playing in Friday Fortnite, it's a matter of playing how the enemy likes to, not rather than just your own play style. It's a matter of knowing what the average public player likes to do in these games.
All right, well, we see Ninja stepping up, and he looks like he's celebrating. He might already have the lead, or he fell out of his chair. I don't know what just happened, but if we can get a score update, that'd be good, but it's getting down to the final couple of frags. We only have 6 remaining kills left, and looking at the score, we have 41 to 33, and you talk about taking off. Ninja and Hysteria will, in fact, take this game over TSM. We talked about it. Hey, they had the hot drops. They got plenty of kills, but overall it came down to the rotations. And you talk about how many times they were able to come through and pick up those kills, man. I got to tell you, phenomenal performance overall. I'm excited for what I just saw, and I know you guys are as well.
Absolutely. I mean, all the props to Ninja and Hysteria. I know Fallout, we were kind of giving the pick toward TSM. I was a big fan. Thought they could really make it happen. But we talked about the amount of ground that they covered. I mean, all that stuff kind of plays into it. But, I mean, hey, we count Ninja, and yet again, he really rises to the occasion and shows out for sure. So,
if I could just say my first prediction on Friday Fortnite is correct, can I just stay with that? No more predictions, guys. I'll stay 1 for 1.
Oh, you were right.
Success rate.
I hate being wrong, man. I'm always wrong, it seems. I just blindly go with TSM. TSM, yep.
TSM. I like this guy in phase, pretty much.
I mean, it's true.
It's,
and
no, good for good reason, obviously.
Yeah, they always got in winners round 2. My sleeper pick got knocked out in winners round 1, so I might kind of lean away from the predictions for sure. I'm gonna stick to my telestrator, stick to obviously talking to you guys. No more predictions for me today, I don't think.
Well, speaking of the map, we actually got it working. So if you want to, I don't know if you said you had some notes for that. I don't know if you want to bring that up and kind of walk them through the rotations of what we saw, because there was a lot of them. Let's go ahead and bring that up. Landon, walk me through what we saw.
Yeah, so I know this is kind of a little bit scattered for a lot of people.
What is that?
Apologies.
I handed the iPad to my nephew.
Yes.
I let him draw some things.
Exactly, man. So one thing that I want to point out, of course, the white side of the map, in case my drawings were obviously Ninja and Hysteria in the situation, I want to point out the amount of, so white obviously is Ninja and Hysteria. Black is TSM regarding, obviously, what their overall play is. You want to talk about the amount of, I know we were talking about this at the game, amount of ground that they cover throughout this game. They go from Risky Reels into Tomato Town, Tomato to Crates, Crates to Retail, Retail to Dusty, Dusty to Loot Lake to kind of finalize a lot of those gatekeeping kills. And for the TSM boys, right, they were hanging around Tilted for the longest time. They didn't know when to rotate. They rotate as soon as the zone comes up. Apologies for the zone. I know it's not a circle. It looks like one. It looks like more like a pair.
It is a great circle.
It looks like a pair more. I'll go ahead and do this, right, the little topper there. Anyway, moving forward, though, the amount of ground that we see the boys from Ninja and Hysteria cover is absolutely insane. And we talked about their game heading into this as well. They end up going toward, Mansion, or what was it? I forget who it was out the start. Pleasant, Shifty. The amount of places that they went off the start was absolutely insane. The amount of locations that they visited, the ground that they covered, absolutely, to me, set them apart from the TSM boys. And the reason why they closed out this game was the amount of locations that they visited versus TSM. Tilted's nice, but it's a matter of playing it. It's a matter of rotating to different areas. Doesn't happen in this game, and I think that's the reason why we see Ninja and Hysteria closed out the way that they did.
Yep. Yeah, completely agree. It's great. I thought I might be mistaken, but I thought at one point they actually made it to Salty too, or was Retail the furthest that they made it. So
I believe so. Yeah,
unbelievable. I mean, 6 or 7 named locations, and it goes to show the way to play these high kill format events is to cover as much ground as possible. And Ninja is great at that. It's one of my favorite things to do is watching him in Friday Fortnights, watching some of his YouTube video recaps. You hear his thought process. He shares it on his stream. He shares what's going through his mind. And again, with the likes of Hysteria, who was one of the great players of Halo back in the day as well, you can expect to see some very, very high-tier gameplay from these two.
And speaking of which, I don't think Ninja's won. He's gotten second place.
He's never won.
He's never won, so second place is his highest he's ever got, so he's hungry for a win.
Yeah.
And trust me, he is going for it hard tonight. We're definitely going to see. But his next opponent coming up next is going to be a tough one, guys. I mean, in the chat, it's going to be High Distortion and Avery facing off against Ninja and his teammate. It's going to be definitely a good one. You don't want to go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to have that matchup ready to go for you. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
This is G Fuel.